Hey guys, it's me here with your weekly update. Gosh, I can't believe we're almost near the end of October already. I always love this time of year because like starting at the beginning of October with my birthday and then basically we hit three birthdays, three holidays. It just feels like 90 days of continual celebration here in our household, which is always lots of fun. You can probably see costume making supplies behind me for friends and stuff like that. So I always love this time of year, even though it feels like there's a lot happening. Yeah, I don't know. So I hope you guys are enjoying this too, that this isn't a season of stress or anxiousness, but that you're able to enter into like a sense of celebration. Like we're getting to celebrate, rhythms as you hit the end of the year, you start to reflect on like, man, how's this past year been and stuff like that. And so actually one of the things I've been thinking about is, there's only like what, 9 weeks or something like that until we hit the end of the year, nine, maybe 10 weeks until we hit the end of the year. And, usually in January we start talking about, oh, what's your New Year's resolutions, but I don't know, like I've been challenged over the last few years by other people to think through like, we always talk about starting the year off great, but what about ending the year off great, whether you set resolutions back at the beginning of the year or there were certain things that are coming up or just things that you thought like, man, I was going to do this and I didn't. I just would encourage you guys to kind of just even think back and just think about like, how can I end this year well? What are the things I need to be doing that when I hit January 1st, I would have wished I would have started at this moment. I think a lot of times for me specifically, it's easy to be like, oh man, like 7 weeks or 8 weeks isn't going to make much of a difference. But it actually really does, because I can't tell you the number of times I said I was going to do something and I didn't. And I get to that moment and I wish, man, even if I had started 7 weeks earlier, I'd be 7 weeks further than I am now. Not only in just actually having grown in whatever it is, whether it's, weight loss or Bible study or anything like that. Not only will I have grown in that, but like I would have worked on developing that habit to where now it's not like the beginning of the year pressure or, it's just the next kitschy thing to do. So I just want to encourage you guys to look, what is one thing that maybe just focus on one thing. What is one thing that as you look towards the end of the year that you look back and think, man, I wish I could have started now in this moment. What can I do to end the year well? And I would love, if you're like, I'm not sure where to think, where to even start, think about our memory verse. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. So even if you pick something in one of those realms, what's something for your heart or your strength, so is it, hey, like I started off the year great exercising because that was my New Year's resolution. And I realized over the last few months I haven't been great at that. Maybe you need to pick that back up. Or it's like, man, I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to my soul. So maybe you need to just make sure you're investing in some solitude time. Maybe, you just commit 5 to 10 minutes a day of like just sitting before the Lord quiet, letting Him like fill your soul. What are those things? What is that one thing? And I would love for you guys to actually email me. What's that one thing that you want to focus in on from here till the end of the year? So that when come January 1, you're not looking back and thinking, man, I wish I'd started that back in October because I'd be so much further along than I am now. For me specifically, I think honestly, there's just like some things I think the Lord's stirring in my heart. It's really funny. I was actually supposed to be starting a program this fall, and it ended up falling through at the last minute, so I wasn't able to scramble, which is okay. So I just honestly, I think for me, it's just spending a lot of time before the Lord, just asking Him like, Lord, like what is it? What is it that you have for me in this season? And then also, obviously, I got to do a lot of studying and stuff like that as actually I begin to prepare, making our plans for Kidventure for next year. It's hard to believe it's already that season where I get to start thinking and dreaming. For our ministry for next year. And I've actually been really excited because I feel like the Lord, because I've been saying no to some things and just trying to be more silent and still before the Lord. I just feel like He's been speaking to me a lot about some things. And actually I was just invite you guys to join me in praying for our ministry for Kidventure for next year. If you feel like the Lord's speaking to you about anything specific within our ministry, feel free to email me. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. We are, but you guys, I would very much love to hear what you guys have to say. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, our memory verse, all month I've been talking to you guys about the importance of our memory verse. And so really what I love, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this within our memory verses, but typically they aren't just some random verses. They aren't just something when we have a memory verse. I think Grow does a really good job. They try to pick one that kind of helps our kids summarize what it is we're learning this month, right? So like, for example, this month in October, we're learning the 10 Commandments. And so with Luke 10:27 being our memory verse, it kind of really helps summarize like, hey, like what is it we're learning? And I think that's just a great way to approach memory verses. Sometimes we can pick a random verse and it may may be good. Maybe the Lord's speaking to us in this season of life, and we need it for comfort or something like that. Or like, if you guys ever have what's called like a life verse or something like that. But I love like whenever you pick a verse that can just kind of help you summarize like what you were learning in that moment, what God's speaking to you, in that moment. Because I think it's really easy sometimes we could take verses out of context, and I think and I think that there's always sometimes a little bit of like hesitation on verses and stuff like that because it's like, oh, how do I know if this is in context or the Lord's speaking to me in context and stuff like that. So I think one of the great ways if you're like I don't even know how to go about picking a verse to memorize, is if you're like is to pick one that's kind of summarizing like what you're reading in that moment. Like, what's the story that God's talking to you about, that you can pick a memory verse for, or honestly, you guys just do what the kids are learning. Even if all you do is memorize the verses that the kids are learning on Sundays, by the end of the year, that's 12 verses that you've memorized. I mean, think about that. Like, I haven't learned 12 verses in a year other than when I'm serving with kids since high school. And that's only because I went to a Christian high school, and then before that I did like a one and stuff like that. So like really like, so just think about this. So we're given a great easy opportunity. And then if we're encouraging our kids not only to practice at home, but our parents to practice alongside them, we're helping our parents and our families not only to connect, but also to learn memory verses together. So I just think that's just a great opportunity that we have here. To be encouraging our kids, specifically, and then talking to our parents about like, hey, pick up like, hey, how are you guys doing on the memory verse at home, working on it together? Every couple days a week, I'll pull Abby out and be like, hey, how's that memory verse going? Let's practice it together. And that's again, obviously, I've talked about, singing songs, the activities that we use, involving our body, just really help the kids to memorize it. But sometimes something as simple as like, hey, every night at the dinner table, just read the memory verse together. I bet after a few weeks, you'll memorize it. I remember, Abby, I think she was actually only 3 at the time. Maybe she was 4. I forget. I actually taught her the Lord's Prayer, and all I did was pray it every night with her. And then eventually she's like, I want to pray it with you. And, she like at first she'd get like, every other sentence or something like that. And then eventually got to the point where she got the whole thing. And I mean, we didn't sit down and say, hey, let's memorize this. Let's spend an hour on it. It was like, no, it was just really simple of me just reading it or actually reciting it for her every night at bedtime, for her to learn the Lord's Prayer. So I just want to encourage you guys. It doesn't have to be this like big, intense process of learning memory verses. It's just like, hey, there's a verse that I feel like God's speaking to me that I want to memorize or something like that. Or I want to work on the one, that we're learning in kids ministry. Just write it down and just like read it every day to yourself. Maybe read it out loud. And then after a few weeks, I bet you'll have it. And by the way, toddler or baby team, or, if you're serving an area, you're like, hey, well, I'm over the toddlers, something like that. You can still do what our kids ministry is doing. I post, I send out the email every week or every month that has it. So let's post it on our website. You can ask me. Obviously, I'm talking about it this month. I'll try to actually cue you guys in every month in our weekly updates and stuff like that. So that I would just encourage you guys to be practicing this for yourselves as well. And so, by the way, so just as a way to encourage this practice, every month, so October, November, December, for the rest of the month, or for the rest of the year, every time that you memorize the memory verse that the kids are learning, so this month it's Luke 10:27, and then I'll let you guys know what next month is. I started looking at it. I'll give you guys a gift card. So I'll get some maybe you guys will have a choice between Starbucks. I know not everybody's a big Starbucks fan, so maybe an Amazon gift card. So I'll have some of those on hand. And if you can come up to me and in your heart having memorized it, so not just this like, I know I love our kids, like they like to go off to the side and read it real quick, and then they can come recite it for me, but it's like a true memory, like, hey, I truly like spent some time and effort memorizing it. Or maybe you already haven't memorized. If you do, that's fine too. I'll give you guys a gift card, just as a way to just encourage, or just to reward your hard work in memorizing all of these things. And by the way, with our kids on Sundays, if they're saying their memory verse like by heart, especially as we near the end of the month that they've been practicing, we usually have gifts in the classrooms, like we have little toys or candy or something like that. Give the kids candy. I don't necessarily want to. I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating kids putting effort into certain spiritual practices that we want them to develop over time. Now, do I want to just give candy and things at the wazoo all the time? No, and we don't do that every week. But I think for something special, especially for pressing into the habit of learning a memory verse, I think it's okay to give, to just reward the kids for their hard work and their effort in memorizing verses. So thank you guys. So real quick, oh yeah, so that's deep thoughts. Just real quick, just a reminder, our trunk or treat is not this weekend, but next weekend. So it's October 30th. So it's about a week and a half away. I have like 6 or 7 trunks right now, which is great. I would love probably at least 4 more. If you guys don't know, I mean, the reason why we do these events is, yes, they're fun, they're exciting. It helps us just to serve and connect to our community. It lets them know, like, hey, guys, there's a church here who loves you guys. And if you don't know, we have several families and people within the life of our church who their first interaction with us is through these types of events, right? So, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to go check out this church, but I don't know, like, are they weird? They don't know who we are, and so it's really hard to get them to want to, give up a Sunday morning or something like that to want to come check us out. So, a lot of the times, it's even through simple events like these that people like will come and check us out, which is why I always find it so important for our church to be present at these events, and serving our community and showing up like, hey, and I love this year because it's a walkthrough. You get a chance to like introduce yourselves and stuff like that. So 1A, be inviting friends, families, neighbors, anybody, especially if you like try to get them to come to church on a Sunday and it's been really hard and they've said no. This might be a great way to get them to come like just to our building to where it becomes familiar for them. But then too, this is also why I just love for us to serve our community. Be like, hey, we're not these weird people. Like, we genuinely love Jesus and we love people. So if you guys can let me know, or I'll have the link in here where you can sign up to register a trunk. That way, I'll just make it easier as I start to communicate the next few days the details people need to know. The second thing is we need like candy donation. I've only gotten like 1 bag so far, and if we have 10 cars and if we have about 200 kids come through, you guys, we need like 10,000 pieces of candy. And I think I've gotten like 200. So if you guys, even if you're like, hey, I'm out of town, I'm single parenting it with a baby, like I can't, no way, I can't like host a trunk, that's fine. But if you could bring in some candy this Sunday, or even next week, that would be great. That would really help serve what we're doing for for this event. And with that, like if you're like, hey, well, I've got little kids at home, this is a great opportunity for you to do something fun with your kids that's serving. So it's just a great way to introduce to our kids, like, hey, this is like actually what it means to serve. You can do fun things to serve others. Like I know my family, we've all picked out family costumes, and my kids are getting really interested in like, hey, here's how we can decorate our car to match our costumes and stuff like that. So really, like, and then at some point I'll let my kids run around and get their candy themselves at the trunk or treat. But it's really just a great opportunity to get your kids just actually introduced to serving others, and what it is that we do as a church. And then last but not least, so Saturday, October 30th is trunk or treat, and then Sunday, the 31st is our Halloween party. So again, we're gonna let kids come back to church. This is the thing for our church families, right? So we're gonna let them work. Their costumes. I actually just was able to get 80 pumpkins. And I got like sticker sets or something like that. So we're gonna let kids decorate their pumpkins, cotton candy machine, and then we're gonna do parties. I've started writing out like a short little. I'm gonna actually just take down whatever the curriculum is on the website or on the service plan, and I'm gonna just throw that away, and then I'm rewriting our lesson plan. We're going to do something around like, because we're going to do a lot of pumpkin themed things, either growing in Jesus, being planted, planting God's word in our heart, or just something around being chosen. I mean, and maybe we'll do kind of like a little bit of all three, kind of like as you would go to a pumpkin patch and choose a pumpkin, Jesus chooses us, and we're all unique. I don't know. There's like so many great things we could talk about with the kids around this theme, idea of pumpkins and stuff like that. So I just got to settle my heart before the Lord and be like, okay, this is the one thing we're going to do. We're going to have like games, activities, crafts. I'm not going to do a snack only because we're going to have the cotton candy afterwards, and then whatever the church normally has, like muffins or whatever. So I don't think we need to sugar up the kids more than we already are. So that's it, you guys. So by the way, if you're free on the 31st and you're like, hey, I can help. I think it's really just the cotton candy machine or apple cider or something like that. So if you guys could just help with that, or if you guys even just want to help set up, I'm going to try to get some hay bales, and I bought a background. Maybe we can set up like a photo booth area for families to take pictures if they want their kids in costumes and stuff like that. So yes, if you guys are just free to help out in some way, like during first service to set up, like you can just let me know that way too. Or if you want to help out in a classroom with the rooms, because it might be a little bit crazier. More kids might show up because of the party. I don't know. So that's it, you guys. I'll start talking to you guys about November soon. Oh yeah. Oh, November 13th, you guys. I've been talking about this. I knew there was something else. I've been talking about November 13th, our archery games. In this email, there's a link. I want you guys to start RSVPing because I got to start figuring out food and stuff like that, and I'll have to give the venue numbers. But I hope you guys are able to make it. It's a kids' night out that night, so you can register, drop your kids off. So there's childcare already arranged for you guys. Drop your kids off, and then you come on over. to the archer games. And like I said, spouses, significant others, or whatever are welcome to come with you guys. This is just a great chance for us to hang out outside of Sundays. I mean, I feel like kids ministry is one of the few ministries where like we're actually like working, we're actually serving, like, and we're actually pretty busy, and we're focused on the kids in the time. So sometimes, I mean, while we have a few minutes before service and after service to connect, we don't really get a lot of chance to really connect on Sundays. And so this is just a great opportunity for us to just connect as a team, have fun, not be focused on any logistics in the moment, while hanging out and just getting to know each other. So I hope you guys can make it. And even if you're like, hey, I don't know if I want to play the archery games, that's fine. You guys can still come and hang out. Like we get like a little, normally we commandeer a couple tables where we set out all the food, and then you just rotate in and out as you're playing the games to eat and stuff like that. So there's plenty of downtime. So even if you're not playing but you want to come, still sign up, and maybe make a note or something, or let me know that you're not playing, so I can still get food for you guys, but then let the venue know how many people are actually playing and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. I'm looking forward to our fun night at the archer games, and I'm really looking forward to our trunk or treat. So it's fun to celebrate. So I will see you guys all on Sunday. Bye.